Yud, Halacha Hey. So that is on what daf nun gimel nun base on a base. But in here it's a different pagination. Here you go. Okay, now the thing is that I have in this Gemara a slightly different girsa than they do, and probably be a slightly different girsa that you do as well. So everything is cool. Okay, let's read the Mishnah. Halacha Hey. Dak Tommy. Now this is general halachas of Isser and Heter. Now I want to give a little akdama here. First of all, I'm annoyed at myself. I was kicking myself before you came in, because Reb Tzadok says something about this Mishnah, and I forgot. I was going to look it up when I went home tonight, but I totally forgot. So I'll try to remember by tomorrow night. But he makes a big deal out of this Mishnah and something to do with mikvos. So I'm sorry, I don't remember what it is, and I'll try to remember what it is and look it up. But the Yerushalmi, really this Mishnah, it's not just Yerushalmi, holds that a birya is batel astronomical shiurim. In Yeridea we learn that a birya, a whole animal, is never batel. But our Mishnah is going to teach us that once you get into astronomical figures, it is batel. Okay? It's not clear that we pass like this Mishnah. There are Rishonim who do, the Rashba, but besides that, most Rishonim pass the birya is not batel even in 1,000. Okay? But this Mishnah does say so. Dak Tami Shekov Shem Dak Tor, if you have a Tame fish which was pickled with a tar fish, Kol Garav Shumachzik Saim, any barrel which holds 2 saw, Yimesh B'Mishkal Asara Zuzav has a weight of 10 zuz of Tame fish, Yehuda in Yehuda, Shein Chametz Lo in Golil, which are 5 slime in Golil, that is 1/960th of the total. If the Tame fish is 1/960th of the tar fish, so it's batel, even though it's a birya. Now again, this number, Reb Tzadok takes this number 1/960th, and he identifies, makes some brilliant sushtel, and identify somewhere where this is the shiur of Tara and a mikveh of something. 1 log. I don't think that's what he says about, but 1 log is 960. There are 960 lugim in a mikveh. Okay, in a mikveh, the 960 lugim. 40 saw is 960 lugim. I don't remember that's the connection he makes, because I think it seems to me it's more significant than that. But in any event, this is a significant number, 960. It's not just by happenstance. Be that as it may, says the Mishnah further, Dag Tame. If you have a fish which is Tame, a tray fish, Tzira Aser, its fish brine is Aser. In what proportion? In other words, if you have Tame brine which got mixed up in kosher brine, what's the proportion? Trust me, that's 1/192. It's 1/192. Rabbi Yossi Omer, no, much more lenient. Echon B'Shishos, about 1/16 is already sufficient to be mitahir. Okay? Chagovim Tmeim. What about Tame grasshoppers? Which got mixed in with tar, kosher locusts. Lo pasul sira. It doesn't negate the brine, which was the pickled. The pickled grasshopper brine, which is tame, which is treif, doesn't aser the pickled locust brine, which is tar, which is kosher. Okay. Before we let's go see the Gemara now. Now I have a header. What?
Without any measurement, we don't care what the shiur is.
Yeah, we're going to speak about that in the Gemara. Okay, the Gemara is going to ask why there's no shiur, or it's going to explain why there's no shiur. Okay? Now, says the Gemara, I have a header which you probably don't. Kol Garav Shemachzik Zayin. Alright, we're going to talk about the barrel. Kama Sa'asa Avda. Now here, this is all math. Just trust me, it's 1/960th, okay? But I will go through the cheshbon anyway. Kama Sa'asa Avda. How much is there in the saw?
Oh my God, so you skipped like 5 lines for us.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. He put him before the last Mishnah. Oh, sorry. We noticed that last night. I forgot. Sorry. Tanya Yurim Pazi. Do you have Tanya Yurim Pazi? Sorry. It must be a typo here. Tanya Yurim Pazi b'shem Bardalia. Strange name. Same name Bardalia. Dag Tohar Tofel. if you have a fish, which is tar, which is not salted, now you pickled it with a salted tray fish. In other words, you pickled herring, kosher herring, which is not salted, with salt. No, it's a bad example. Pickled Nova lax, which is not salted, with, let's say, pickled sturgeon, with salted sturgeon, right? And now they're both pickling together, so it's also. It's also the kosher fish becomes also. Ask Maraki says, "For time didn't we learn Rabbi Chia? Rabbi Chia tell us madicho mutter. You just rinse off the kosher fish and it's okay. Let's say where the fish is whole. It's not cut up. Okay, I said Nova lax. Stupid example. I'm not talking about lax. It doesn't cut up. It's a whole fish, right? It's a salmon. Okay. Omar Rabbi Ramana. Mana said, "Mandamar mutter." He holds that it's permissible to b'shekavshan steinka achas. It's when they're both pickled simultaneously. Because the way it works, the way the Gemara established last night, we were talking about truma, is that the process is that first both fish absorb the brine, and then they both release their taste. But since they're both placed there together, the process happens simultaneously. Now, since they're whole, therefore, after they finish giving off the taste, they don't reabsorb any taste. So therefore, the fish remain mutter. And that was the difference we said last night between cut foodstuffs and whole foodstuffs. By whole foodstuffs, they're bolea, they absorb. Then they're polate, they release. Then that's it, they stop. By cut up foodstuffs, they're bolea, they absorb. They're polate, they release. And then they're bolea again, they reabsorb. Okay? So here, since everything happens simultaneously, the fish remain mutter. Madmar Osir, he says that it's Osir is B'Sher Kovshon Zeh Achar Zeh. He says it's forbidden. It's talking about where first you put the tohar into the pickling juice, then you put the tomei into the pickling juice. So then in that case you have first you put the tomei in the pickling juice and then the tohar afterwards. So by the time when the tomei is already releasing, at the time that the tomei is still absorbing. So therefore the tomei fish, you put in the tomei first, right? Put in the sturgeon before the salmon. So then in the pickling mixture. And so at the time that the sturgeon is releasing, right, the sturgeon first absorbed. What? Okay, let me say it for myself. The sturgeon first absorbed, right? And then it started releasing. At that point, you put in the tar fish. The tar fish is absorbing from the sturgeon. Okay? You should know that I'll prove to you that this is the case in which is Osir. The Tanina says, and previously, Obermei Truma, if you pickled vegetables of chulin in water in which Truma had already been pickled, then the vegetables become chul. The chulin vegetables become Osir. They come receive the din of Truma. Lama, why should that be? L'chora things happen simultaneously. No, obviously, lo b'shekavshan zeh. It's about where you first pickled one and then the other. So it's only when it's done sequentially, then in fact the tomei one, which is placed there first, will answer the Torah one, which is placed there second. Okay, now do you have kamasasa avda? You have that next?
Yeah.
Okay, kol grav shemaksik sasaim kamasasa avda. How much do you have in a saw? A saw is a stream barba lugin. There are 24 lugin a saw. The kama lugin avid. In a lug you have tartin and a litrin, 2 liter. The kama litrin avid. No, the liter we have today is from the. Who made up the liter measure?
No, it's not. It's just the liters of the metric.
French Revolution. Stems from the French Revolution. Metric system was made by the French. Right? No recollection?
It's Tuesday.
Yeah. No, the one was yesterday. Wiley Post was yesterday. Yeah. No, the French, that was the whole thing. Part of the French Revolution was throwing off the shackles of the British system and creating a system which was base 10. That was part of the advance in modern science.
Well, that's why they attempted to change the week.
Yeah, they wanted to change the week too. Right, the whole thing.
I didn't realize And they also.
So they made the metric system. They invented it. Okay? A little Torah Mother for you guys tonight. Science I don't know, but history I know a little bit. After how much in this Esrim var beluga 24 lug. V'kama loga avid. How much do you have in a log? Tartin lichin 2 liter. V'kama lichin after how many do you have in a liter? Mea zuz zinin. 100 zinin, which is the same thing as the Mishnah calls asora zuz. A zuz and a zin is the same thing, same measure. Nimtza kol zin v'zin. So every 10, even though it says each and every zin, but it means every 10 zuz, is echa mitramios v'shishim, is 1/960th of a 2 saw. Okay? Ori Rabbi Bun ba'achbera, Rabbi Bun paskin in the city of Achbera, echel elef, 1 in 1,000. That Iberia is 1 in 1,000. So there's some people say Achbera taka means a mouse. That a dead mouse fell into a mixture. And he was mavato the mouse 1 in 1,000. But it's not clear. It's not. He points out that Kavanaki. He points out that it's really the name of a place in the Galil. Okay, Rabbi Omer, Revius B'Sar Saim. I don't know if you have that header. Do you? Rabbi Omer, Revius B'Sar Saim. Yerushalmi normally doesn't have headers, meaning those like the 2 dots at the beginning of a paragraph. But my Yerushalmi does. And they put it in. It's a great thing about Yerushalmi. You can still edit it. Probably you're kind of stuck. After the box, there's not much you can do. With the Yerushalmi, it's great. You can put in anything you want. It says here a revis in sign, which that we're talking about the tzir now, and that's 1/192. We will go through that cheshbon. Rabbi Avo b'shem Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina revis tzir b'tzar tzir. First, the Gemara says, I understand. A revius of tzir b'sasayim tzir, you say if you have a revius of tzir of brine from a tame fish, in a 2 saw of tzir from a kosher fish, v'lo ein tzir dag tame meter. The tzir of a dag tame, its juices, they're not defined as being an isser. So it says the Gemara, they're not no same time, meaning. Right? They don't give a time. Now this is important, very important question. The Gemara really doesn't answer it here. In order for an Isser to be Osir, it has to be no same time. In order for an Isser to Asr, it has to be no same time. You have, what's the Tarovas here? Brine and brine. The brine of the tray fish is not giving any time to the brine of the kosher fish. Why not? Because it's already in brine. Right? So it's not no same time. What's the Havamina that should be Osir? Well, the Yerushalmi is assuming they don't. They all taste the same. All fish brine is the same. Maybe it's a strange assumption, but what do we know? So in any event, so the Yerushalmi does not answer this question. Just leaves it dangling. So, oh, he changes the Mater. Yeah, I didn't realize he changed it, but yeah, he says Mater. Matil doesn't make any sense at all. No. So he brings down to the Bavli. The Bavli in Chulin says that Bavli in Chulin gives a Pashto answer, very Pashto answer. I'm surprised Yerushalmi doesn't bother giving it, because Yerushalmi felt it so Pashto didn't have to bother. This is Rabbi Yehuda said 1/192. What does Rabbi Yehuda normally hold about min b'mino? It's never batel, right? So I'd Rabbi Yehuda is mekel. Normally Rabbi Yehuda holds min b'mino is not batel at all, right? That he should say it's batel. In 192 parts, it's a big chiddush l'kula. For him, that's a relative kula. So that's why he holds really enochanami. He holds taka not a bona fide isser. No, that's why all he needs is 192 2 parts.
Why do you think of Acer does come from Macer?
Yeah.
Does that mean after dog coming or any sear?
No. Only it means dog tummy sear doesn't give time to a kosher dog sear. But let's say you didn't have brine. Let's say the kosher fish was not briny. So then it would answer. Then it's possible it would answer.
The presence of the brine prevents it from being no same.
Right. That's right. Okay? Because again, they're both briny. Okay? Vareva says, Chashavas Yosei, I figured out what the ratio is in the Mishnah. Kol Masaimu, it's close to 200, as we said, 192. Rabbi Shimon Bar Chiyah said, you have a wrong gears in our Mishnah. It's not a revius of tzir and zosayim, but a rova tzir. The zosayim dogim v'tzir. It's a rova of tzir in a two saw of fish and brine. And again, trust me on this, it's 1/48. Much smaller, right? A quarter of the other shear, right? 1/48. As uvdu komer Rabbi Yeshua v'alei the sugi came from the Rabbi Yeshua, he passed this cane, the Tani came. And we also have a brayso which says this as well. Now this really answers the Yerushalmi's previous question. The Yerushalmi asked, tzir shouldn't be so also, right? It doesn't, not no same time. So really, this, although it doesn't address it directly, this really answers the question the Kabanoki points out, because ultimately, this is less than 1/60th. If the problem was in no same time, then the shear would have been 1/60th. If the shear is 1/48th, we taka see a kula based on the fact that it's not really no same time. So this kula could be based on the previous question which you learned. That's it, and it still doesn't answer it. It still doesn't answer it, even though it's a greater proportion of this, right? You're thinking, the other way around. Okay, my math is not too good either. Okay, says more further. Again, do you understand? 1/48 is a larger proportion of this. Okay, I don't think you do. Have Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda. Do you have Bamed V'Amurim next? Okay, Bamed V'Amurim. Now there's a couple of typos in this paragraph here. Bamed V'Amurim Bizman Shoyle Umeniach Lefanav. Take out the words Rishon. It's when do I need 960 to 1? When they're all in one vat. I fish them out of the sea. Literally, shola means fish them out, and put them all in one big vat. Umatzabokashir said, then I need 960 to 1. Ava, but here's a great kula. Shola rishon miniach lachra. He's taking fish out of the sea, putting it behind them. Fish out of the sea, putting it behind them. So they're not all put into simultaneously, one large net catch, but one at a time. So I feel Yosim Kashira said, even if the proportion is much greater than 960 to 1, meaning there are many more tamei fish, it's still okay. Mutter. Why is that? Aideila, by a ruse, a loophole. What's the loophole? The loophole, even though the Gemara doesn't specify it, is kama batil. Okay. As I throw each one behind me, it's batil. So therefore, as long as at one point I had 1/960th, right? Even if later on I add more tamei fish, as each one was thrown in, it becomes batil to the other ones. So again, as long as at one point I had 960 to 1, then as each one is thrown in subsequently, even if it becomes much more, it's still considered to be batil. Okay? Says, well, why is that? Because otherwise, it should be zvinta ikalkus. Otherwise, my whole zvinta means literally purchase, but here it means my whole trade, my whole merchandise will be ruined. In other words, basically, a fisher could not live. You know, in the old days, they didn't have dolphin safe nets. I know this might be a chiddush too, but they didn't have dolphin safe nets, and therefore they had tamei fish, which got mixed up in large catches. So therefore, they needed a kula. So what was the kula they give them? That 900, you don't have to, the only time to retain the 960 ratio is when you can't say kama batil. But if a scenario occurs which you say each one is batil in turn, so then it's okay, we rely on that.
Pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing, isn't it? So Shas at Chaketer, but it's like a Hefzim Ruba, it's like a, yeah. Why don't we open this? Because Bobby doesn't bring it down. Yerushalmi, that's what I assume. Right? No. Shor Rabbi Chaga, Rabbi Abba Zavta. Right, I don't know what Rabbi Tendler would do with this Gemara. He probably, maybe didn't learn Yerushalmi, I don't know. Shor Rabbi Chaga, Rabbi Abba Zavta. It's a very small assumption that people don't learn Yerushalmi, isn't it? So we're the only people in the world right now learning Yerushalmi in English. Shor Rabbi Chaga, Rabbi Abba Zavta. Rabbi Chaga asked Rabbi Abba Zavta. Marmalade said, a similar thing. Darva Sharabim Eno Nasar. We can't. It's the masses are fishermen, and this is how they make their parnosa. We can't answer it. Right? They had different attitudes in the old days. Rabbi Yaakov Razav de Omar. Yaakov Razav they said. Rabbi Yitzchak Shah. Rabbi Yitzchak asked, why are people so astounded? Now, what did he ask? It's not clear from the Yerushalmi itself, but he brings down here, why are people so astounded at the heter? It's a portion that we're going to be matir if necessary. What's a parallel case? A remarkable parallel. Vilna Nigarta. They get gittin in Eretz Yisrael, which come from Bavel. And Lav, Gius, Lukus Ksibem, they have signatures of Edgar and Frank and all sorts of Goyish names that we lie that the names are Jewish names, right? Gius, Lukus, and all that kind of stuff. At Amrai de Ila. So there you say, it's a loophole, right? Now, yeah, of course. Lucas is also a Roman name. It means fox. And Lucas at the end of Sech the Sukkah means a fox in Greek or Roman. So at Amar De'ilu, we'd say that there's a loophole. In the Yerushalmi, we add on the words V'achai De'ilu. Here too, we say it's a loophole, meaning that the bottom line is that sometimes you have to look for a loophole. If you look for a loophole by Gittin, Kavachomer, you look for a loophole by tummy fish. Right? Okay, now, moving on to locust. Do you have the words Ma'u Torah next?
No,
We have a whole line then.
That he has in the Mishnah. That's not in the Mishnah?
Actually, it is. It is in the Mishnah.
It is in the Mishnah. So this is just a repeat of the Mishnah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is like a header. By you, it's a header, okay? So on the rare times you got a header in your Gemara, enjoy it. Hey, Rabbi Tzadok, al tzir chagom itmeim shutar. Rabbi Tzadok testified that the tzir, the brine of tamei grasshoppers is tar. Ma'u tar. Now the Gemara is bothered. It's an interesting deal. I don't remember ever seeing this before. Why do we use the word tar, not the word kosher? That's what Yerushalmi is asking, which is a remarkable question if you think about it, because all over Shas, tar is used to be synonymous with kosher. But here we're asking, and tar is synonymous, right? But we're asking the question here. So there's another, when Rabbi Tzadok said, Tzir Chagomim, it's tar. He must have had more up his sleeves than saying that it's kosher. What did he have up his sleeve? Tar milahachshir. It means that it's not machshir l'kabel tuma either. Why it's not machshir l'kabel tuma? Because it's not a liquid. Liquid is only one of the 7 liquids. Grasshopper brine is not one of the 7 liquids. However, holatame afilu kosher matame. But if you add water, even a little bit of water to it, then it is makabel and is machshir tuma. So I guess actually, if you put a lot of salt on the grasshopper, so it secretes a liquid, that liquid secretion is not considered to be a liquid, and therefore it's not machshir kabel tuma, etc. Only if you actually add water to that secretion is it considered to be a beverage. Okay.
You mentioned 7 liquids. What 7 liquids were you?
Yad, shachat, dam. I don't know if I can remember them by heart. Yad is yain, dam. Shachat is shemen, chalav, tal, and dam is dvash, not dvash dvorim, dvash tmorim. Dvash is only dvash tmorim, I think. Dvash dvorim? You sure? Okay. Dvash dvorim and mine. Okay, those are the 7. Okay. So name it. So it says more further. Mishnah further.
This latter Gemara, of course, didn't really make any sense.
You didn't like it.
It didn't make any sense.
Because you don't like the diagon, which is based.
No.
Oh, why?
The fact is, all they're saying is, we know that there are 7 liquids that are machshir.
Right.
Water being one of them.
Right.
Those 7 liquids don't mention any bodily secretions of animals or
Right.
insects.
True. But I might say this brine, since it looks like water, maybe it's water. I guess. I don't know. You're right. I don't know exactly what the chiddush is, but that's what I'm saying.
You could have said why locust brine and not regular fish brine?
Yeah. could have said the same thing by fish, or probably it is the same thing by fish, Brian. I think that we're focusing on that with Chaid Rabbi Tzadok, that he made a special statement at the end of the Mishnah. Okay, kol nichbashim zeim zem mutarim. Anything which is pickled together is mutar. Now, meaning, truma, we're getting back to truma now. Truma vegetables is only the Rabbana. So therefore, if you have kosher vegetable, you have truma vegetables which are pickled together with chulin vegetables, then they're mutar. Elim achosis, unless the truma is one of the onion family. I don't know that. I thought chosis means chas in Hebrew means lettuce, but here it's the onion family. Onion family are onions, leeks, scallions, that kind of stuff. Okay, if the truma is from the onion family, then we have to be machmir. Okay, because it gives more of a taste than the regular vegetable which is pickled with. Chosis shel truma im chosis shel chulin chosis shel truma. Therefore, if you have the onions of chulin pickled with onions of truma, yerek shulchulin im chasis shel truma, or regular vegetables of chulin together with onion type vegetables of truma, also it's forbidden. Aval, however, chasis shel chulin, what if the chulin is an onion type, im yerek shel truma, and the truma is a regular vegetable type, mutar, then it's permissible. Rabbi Yossi Omer, kol nishlokim im atchodim, anything which is cooked together with beets, asurim is forbidden. Because beets give a taste. Boy, do they give a taste. Okay? Let's screw the Gemara and come back to the rest of the Mishnah later, because the rest of the Mishnah is really a different issue.
So what's the pattern? I didn't quite understand the first part of the Mishnah.
If the truma is from the onion family, then it gives it to taste, to flavor to the other vegetable which is pickled with it. And that's even regardless of what the other vegetable is. But if the other vegetable is from the onion family, so then the truma doesn't asur it. Okay, let's say you take cucumbers of truma, and you put them with onions of chulin to make cucumber salad. The onions remain mutar. Vice versa, the onions are truma, and the pickles are chulin, so the cucumbers are chulin, so the cucumbers become asur. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan said, Leis kan nichbashin, this is not only true about pickling, ela nishlakim, also about cooking. So it's the same principles apply to cooking together. Why? Because kavash kuroteachu. Pickling is like boiling. Rabbi Chanina to Tirtah b'shem Rabbi Yossi said, chasis bechasis. If you have your pick.
This is here it says kavash kuroteachu. Baba is kavash karei kumurusho. Slightly different formulation of the same idea, but it's just.
There it says moliach hareu kiroteach, salted, not so. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm not sure if they are. It seems it's the same thing, but I don't know if that's true. You're right. It's a good point. Rabbi Chanina Tirtah b'shem Rabbi Yossi said, chasis b'chasis. You take onions with onions, bin memino, the same type. So then, our Mishnah is Chachamim rolled it also. Rabbi Akiva, however, is Matir. Rabbi Akiva, Matir, Chachamim also. Okay? So our Mishnah is like Chachamim. And we're going to learn this later on. Rabbi Yasser b'shem Rabbi Yochanan says, Mori Chachamim Rabbi Akiva. Chachamim can say to Rabbi Akiva, B'basar shu mutar. If you have pickled together meat and meat, in other words, I guess, yeah, but it has to be one is treif, right? So one kosher corned beef with tummy corned beef, so it remains mutar, okay, because they don't absorb from each other. The only time it's as long as there's a majority of kosher meat, right? It has to be. It's because it's a tarovis. It's only only arguing Akiva by the onion types. Two types of onions, because since they're so sharp, then they cause transfer of taste. Rabbi Zira said to Rabbi Yasa, if you had not said this, we would not have known this. And he's serious about this. He's not mocking him. He's making a serious statement. Why is that? Because he says, I would have said misfar the opposite. I've said by meat you have to be more machmir. Why is that? Because awesome meat is awesome meat raisa, but truma vegetables is only to Rabbana. So therefore, logic would dictate that I have to be more severe with meat. V'dumaloi samras. Or maybe Taki didn't mean to say what you said. Elamoy Rabbi Kiva chachomi bebasar basar shuasar. Maybe Taki Rabbi Kiva could see chachomi that when he pickled kosher meat with treif meat that it's aser. Asar Rabbi Chanina, who knows what goes on in a certain plant on the south side. Asar Rabbi Chanina. So Rabbi Chanina came along. I don't think you have this, right?
No.
You have Asar Rabbi Avo, right?
Right.
Some reason he adds on Asar Rabbi Chanina v'Omar Rabbi Avo b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Take, he had this girsa motor Rabbi Kiva chachomi basar b'basar shuasar. If you pickled kosher corned beefs with treif corned beefs, it's taka aser. Achina Shamala mean the basra. Rabbi Chanina learned this from a subsequent Mishnah. It's not, it's going to say in a subsequent Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva Omer, Komis Bashlim says that anytime it's cooked together, mutarim, it's permissible, chutz min abasar. Except where two meats are cooked together. Abasar b'basar, aser, and the two types of meat cooked together, do aser. Okay? Rabbi Shimon Omer.
So that's how we leave that with Kiva's agreement that it's
Yeah, by meat, is more mach.
But it wouldn't have made sense. All of your data is...
Because by pickling aser and kosher. Yes. That's based on Rabbi Akiva's concession. Okay, or Chachamim. Okay, do you have now Rabbi Shimon?
No, we have Dilma.
Ooh, I skipped the rest of the. Okay, go back to the Mishnah. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer. Everybody see the Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon Omer? Back to the Mishnah. That's where we left off in the Mishnah.
7 lines.
Rabbi Shimon Omer. Kruv shel shakya. This is an interesting halacha. You have cabbage which grew in an irrigated patch. In Kruv shel ba, which is chulin. In Kruv shel ba, you have cabbage which grew in a patch which is rainwater irrigated. Aser. If you cook or pickle them together, it's aser. They should be there. Why? Because the cabbage which grew in the irrigated patch is slightly drier. It doesn't get as much water, because it's not saturated by rainwater. So therefore it's slightly drier, and the other cabbage is slightly moister. So the moister cabbage from the rainwater irrigated field is going to impart taste to the drier cabbage from the irrigation field. Okay? Rabbi Kiva Mer Komis Bashim Zem Zem Mutarin Elim Abasar. This is what we just quoted in the Gemara. Rabbi Kiva said all those things which are cooked together are permitted, except for meat. Now, except for meat, the way the Gemara was medayik just a moment ago, it means meat with meat is aser. But here, the pashut pshat in the Mishnah is that when you cook vegetables with meat, vegetables of truma with meat, so in that case, the vegetables of truma aser the meat, even if they're dull vegetables, they're not from the onion family, right? But nonetheless, very often the reason why you cook the vegetables and even potatoes, because the vegetables give a certain flavor to the meat, and that's why it's awesome. Rabbi Yochanan Uri Omer, famous line, HaKoved, the liver, Oseres, it asers because it gives off blood of Oseres, but it doesn't absorb anything. The Yishapoletis, Vedabalas, it just gives off, it doesn't absorb. Okay, going to the Gemara. Let's go back to the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kruv Shel Shaki. Do you have that header? Or do you have just Omer Rabbi Yossi? Right at the top of Nun Daled Amud Aleph. I'm Rabbi Yossi. Do you have it, Mr. Wolf? Yeah, because you don't have the same pagination. Will I find it for you? If you keep coming, I have another spare Gemara, which will be.
Line and a half.
It depends upon what the car is available.
Yeah. We skipped the 3 lines.
What line did you skip?
Dilma.
I thought you left off before.
Dilma Samar, maybe you said it. Elamot Kachama Rabbi Kiva.
But didn't we read that before? No, we read that before. Maybe it's repeated here again.
Repeated.
Because that was before.
Yes, but
It's repeated here?
yes.
Okay, but it's the exact same lines, right?
Not quite. Here, earlier we said, now we're saying, he seems to change it around here. It says,
Tell me something.
I'm not sure. Chanina Rabba b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Modim Chachamim l'Rabbi Kiva, V'Basar B'Basar Shuasar.
Yeah, just cut that all out. It makes no sense.
Right, it doesn't make any sense.
Right, because Rabbi Kiva's concedes to Chachamim, not Modim. So you just cut that all out. Okay?
I like that. Anything you don't like?
I'm telling you, Yerushalmi is cool. That's great, Yerushalmi. Okay.
I see it. Okay.
On Rav Yossi, okay? Rav Yossi said, having serving, I would have thought the opposite. Having serving Maimer, I would have thought to say, Shobal Bolea. The more moist is more absorbent, not the drier. But for now, which Ravuna said, Sav min Iba, in Eretz Yisrael, take from the stuff which is connected to the ground. Now, in Eretz Yisrael, most things grow by rainwater, not by irrigation. So take from that which is connected to the ground, Iba is mechuber. V'havli flufa, and it'll give off moisture. That teaches us that it's full of moisture, and therefore it gives off, and therefore the other stuff which becomes ulcer, the stuff which grows from irrigation, as opposed to stuff which grows in a rainwater area. Now you have Rabbi Yirmiyah Boi is your next line. This is going on Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's statement about the liver. Rabbi Yirmiyah Boi shloka b'chol of mouth. If a liver always gives off, what happens if you cook a liver in milk?
It's real hard.
What?
Liver gets real hard.
Right. But what happens if you cook a liver in milk, though? Will it absorb or not? So that's what Gemara's question is. We don't know whether we make it or not. Now, we're machmir not to cook any liver nowadays, right? Unless you roast it, broil it first. So Rabbi Zir lo'achol kovid. Zir never ate liver, and I have the words min yomi his entire life. Right?
I know a lot of people.
Shoka Rabbi Ba. So one time Rabbi Ba cooked one, and made him eat it.
How can you make them?
What? Kasha and Maisa. I don't know. We told him it's mutter. He told us also. Now the thing is like this.
I agree.
The thing is, there is a halacha on the books that if you boil a liver very quickly, which is called chalita, then it's mutter. We don't do it anymore. Sfardim do. We don't. Sfardim, I mean the Yemenites. We don't do it anymore because we're not bucky in it. Because it has to be dropped and seared in boiling hot water. So everything gets seared in as opposed to ever coming out. But that's probably what Rabbi Ba did for him. He seared it, and then he gave it to Rabbi Zira to eat. Some say Mocha Rabbi Ba. Rabbi Ba salted it and ochlale, and then gave it to Rabbi Zira to eat. Because there's a shita, even though we don't paskin like it, there's a shita also in the Bavli that salting the liver is sufficient. You don't have to roast it. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah. Beitza sheniz bashla. Do you have it back in the Mishnah? Beitza sheniz bashla.
Yeah.
Right, and the theory for salting it isn't because it's maflia. It forces it and it prevents it from being maflia.
What?
It prevents salting. Causes that object to absorb, and while it's absorbing flavor, it prevents it from releasing flavor.
Salt takes out the blood.
It absorbs. I understand.
It brings the blood out.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but I know what you're saying. But I don't.
You don't agree with it?
No. Of course, it does take out the blood,
Yeah.
but there's. Take it back. I don't know.
All right. If you can substantiate that, I appreciate it. Let's go further in the Mishnah. Beitza sheniz bashla b'tavlin asurin. A egg which is cooked in forbidden spices such as truma or orla. Afilu chelmot shlo aser. Even its yolk is aser. Obviously, the chelmon is the yolk. Chelbon is the white. Obviously, the white is aser, but even the yolk is aser. Neish b'leh because it absorbs. Meish lakus u'mei kvashim shel truma. If you have the water in which truma was cooked or pickled, asur lazarim, that water is forbidden for non-kohanim. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Tani the bar kapara. Does everybody see Tani bar kapara? Chelmon aser. The chelmon is aser, the yolk. The koshken challah beitzim, and certainly the white, literally the milk, the white of the egg. Rabbi Yitzchak, what do you have? You have chalav? Do you have the word chalav?
me? No.
We're in the Gemara again.
I understand.
Yeah.
No.
Koshkin what do you have?
I have babes, you're talking about Shimon Lukish, right?
No, before that. The line before that. Tanya Bar Kapara.
Yeah.
Chamon Aser v'Koshkin.
Okay, Chelbon Beitim.
Chelbon. Okay, Chelbon Beitim. In other words, the white of the egg.
Okay.
Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbah, B'Shem Lakish said, he took the great name of B'Shem Lakish said, Beitim Shushlokon. If you cooked eggs, much bar in a frock, and you had the misfortune to find a little chick in one of them, but no sitam, then you need shishim. However, Rabbi Zira, Rabbi Shimon Bar Abba Shem, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Zira, and Ravada Bar Gershon, never saw Gershon before in Shas, and Rabbi Levi Bar Parta, and Rabbi Kiryas, all said, Mishum Zokin Echol, all said name an old man, B'Shem Rebbe, named Rebbe, this is where he paskin, Beitza B'Shishim Va'achas Asuros. Normally, Batal B'Shishim needs a ratio of 60 to 1. By eggs, you need a ratio of 61 to 1. If it's only the egg and 60 more, it's also. B'Shishim V'Shtayim Mutoros, you need 60, you need to have 60, you need to have 61 to 1. Okay, 62 altogether. Why is that? So the Yerushalmi itself doesn't explain it, but the Bavli does explain. The Rishonim explain because eggs come in different grades and sizes. So therefore, in order to make a uniform, they added on an egg. Is that clear? You might not like it, but that's what it says. They didn't sort it like they do today's grade, medium, large, extra large.
But we say kabetza. It's always that.
Yeah, well, that's a certain known beitza. Yeah, but that's two kazetas. But then they were different. They saw different sizes, and that's why I need to have more. Shmuel v'Shor bar Nachman Yosef said, "Hey, Ada Chavrenu, Ada, our friend, testified. Hey, Ada Chavrenu Fanenu v'Shishim. V'Armei said, Mishiyovi Yosef Mishishim Eight time. Anybody brings him more than 60 by an egg. Machshar, and I say it's okay. I don't need 62. Armin l'Shimon bar Va. So they said to Shimon bar Va, who say he needs 62. Omer Atochein. You say this way. V'Yidon Armin Achena. They said that we only need 60. Armin, so he said to them, Ana Amar Madashamis, I hear from what I heard from my Rabbi. Vino Madashami, and it's a free country, and they're saying what they heard from their Rabbi. Shimon Bava Amar Kumi Rabbi Chanina sent from Chanina that there are all sorts of kabbals about this. This is all in the Bavli. Ma'aseh Balifnei Rabbi Gamliel in Chulin. Ma'aseh Balifnei Rabbi Gamliel, Ma'aseh Rabbi Gamliel Berebbi. V'Amar, he said, Abba lo more barboim b'sheva. And my father didn't allow the eggs when they were 1 and 47. V'ana mori barboim chamesh. You want to be the matu when it's 1 and 45? I'm not going to do it. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Chanina said, Ma'aseh Balifnei Rebbe. Ma'aseh came from the Rebbe, and he said, V'Amar Istamon Chamishina. There are 50 over there. In which case, it sounds like Rebbe would have been matu at 50. And these are obviously various different alternate traditions. V'Amar Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Chanina. Hayerek. Let's say you cook kosher eggs with tamei eggs, treif eggs, the vegetables, and what? Ostrich eggs. Yeah, or they had chicks in them, whatever. Hayerek, the vegetables in the pot, if they're pots. V'aklipin, and the shell of the egg, of the kosher eggs, of ba'mayim in the water, all mitzvah to yivatul iser. On Rav Zira said, for iser mitochon, we only reckon this or as the inside of the egg, not the shell of the osir egg. On Rav Huna, not only that, but even klipe iser malin esaheter. This is very much halacha l'maisa. The shell of the ostrich egg, whatever other egg you have in there, chves, raven egg, I don't know. That is mitzdaref to be mevato. It's mitzdaref to the heter, because the shell is not also in and of itself. It's not edible. So therefore, it's considered part and parcel of this total sum of substance which is necessary in order to be mevato. We pass away even by bones. Bones of an osir animal are mitzdaref to the mutter animal in order to be mevato l'isur. Again, because bones are not osir, but the osir taste diffuses through the bone. So therefore, the bone is mitzdaref in order to make a bittul b'shishim. Am I making myself clear?
Yeah. So that applies, for example, you find a bloody egg too. So
yeah.
The shell.
Sure. The shell is mitzdaref. Okay. Says Gemara, Tani, we learn Beitzim Torah Shlokim Atmeos. You have kosher eggs which are cooked together with treif eggs, mutaros. They're permissible. Why? So here it's a little bit complicated. Omar Rabbi said, this is only Vusha Shokan B'Klipein. This is only when they were cooked in shell. So then the raven eggs don't answer the chicken eggs. It's not enough yet. Now you should have the words, although you don't have them. Hada the tema. This is only true shlukos b'shlukos. If they were cooked separately and then cooked again together. Because then, if they were cooked separately, so then their shells already absorbed, are completely saturated with moisture or whatever. So then they're not considered to be permeable anymore. So the ulcer taste of the raven eggs don't pass into the kosher eggs. But if you cook raw eggs of chicken and raven together, then forget it. It's also regardless. So in other words, it's already pre-cooked, and then you cook it again together again. Okay? And again, everything is cooked in shell. So it's double cooked in shell. But if you cooked peeled eggs, eggs are peeled, right? Yeah, peeled eggs. In b'shein klufos and eggs which are not peeled, or shein klufos b'klufos, or you vice versa, or shlukos b'ein shlukos, the ones that are cooked and ones that are not cooked, etc., etc. Tzrichim shiur acher, they require another shiur, which is 60. Okay, the only time we don't require 60 is everything is in peel, and it's the second in the shell, and it's the second time around.
So that's halacha also. You can't cook a raven egg and a chicken egg together if from raw states
cooked. They need shishim. Right, because they're still considered to be porous unless they've been pre-cooked already once. Okay? Tani, we learned gi'ule beitzim, premature eggs. They were born prematurely, laid prematurely. Mutarim. How do we know that gi'ul means premature? It says because Eov was lamenting that by Rishoyim, Shoro Iber, their oxen get pregnant, v'lo yagil, and they do not miscarry. So we see that yagil means miscarrying or giving birth early, prematurely. Beitzim sharikmu, if you have eggs in which the form of a chick is formed, harelu asuras, obviously they're also muzaros. If you have eggs which look funny on the inside, but they can't grow a chick, in other words, they haven't been fertilized by a male, even though they look strange on the inside, as if maybe something could grow there. You never shayav but someone who's not repulsed by them can eat them. What if in these eggs, which are not fertilized by males, nowadays you find a blood spot? Kolif makom adam, so you just remove the place where the blood spot is. So we're machmir. We throw out eggs with blood spots, but it's just a chumrah. Mikradin, you can just peel off the blood spot because it's not real blood, because it wasn't fertilized by a male, so therefore it can't grow. That blood spot cannot grow into a bona fide chicken. Okay? Rabbi Zira went mevakra to visit Rabbi Chia Breder Yitzchak Atushaya, who was Atushaya either means a place or that he was sneezing. I don't know. Lisatesh means to sneeze in Hebrew. Ashke Yosef. So he found him sitting. V'amar, he said, Lo shana ela beloven chelmon. That which I asked for blood spot is only if it appears in the white area of the yolk. In other words, on the membrane around the yolk. Ava beloven chelbon. But if it's on the membrane of the white mutter, it's okay. Husavar, so Rabbi Zira thought to who Gabay, Rabbi Chia received this Gevia, received this tradition. I mean, obviously from his forefathers. As Rabbi Avo, B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, then Rabbi Avo came saying Rabbi Yochanan, Ben Chabon, which regardless of what membrane the blood spot is on, the inner one or the outer one, it's also. Tani, we learned, Chalafta ben Shol said, Chelmon Asur Chelmon Mutter. It depends if the membrane is on the Chelmon, on the yolk, then it's also if it's on the Chelmon, on the white, it's okay. On Rabbi Zira said, Hein Domar Bechelmon Asur, that what you said, if it's on the yolk, it's also. Kshenimtza b'mokum zachruso shel Chelmon, it's when it's on the membrane, again, the membrane. Literally it says the male part, but it means the membrane of the yolk. Afilu Chelmon. And also even on the white, as it's aser, it's fine. But mokum zachrusa shel chelbon on the white of the yolk, on the membrane of the white part, shemeno afroch notza, because there it's possible for a chick to form. Okay, Now I have a header which you probably don't have. Do you go straight to Talmud Tanina? Okay. So we're talking now about the end of the Mishnah. The end of the Mishnah said that if you have the liquid in which truma was pickled or cooked, so that gets mixed with chulin, it asks the chulin. Talmud Tanina we learned over there. Elu poslin. These substances, possible mikvah, of 3 lugan of them fall into a mikvah before the mikvah has 40 saw of rainwater.
What's the common denominator? It's not the blood, it's not saw. How many ounces? How many ounces or how many pints are we talking about?
You're asking a good question. You expect me to know the answer? I'll figure it out quickly. Mikvah is about 120 gallons, which is 40 saw.
It has 5,760 what?
960. Not that 5,760. 960 lug in a mikvah.
960 lugs goes what? 40 saw?
Yeah.
What?
40 saw is 120 gallons.
Right. 960 lug. 960. How do you get 960? You have to multiply something by something at 960, right?
Yeah.
What do you multiply by? What is it?
40 saw have 24 lug in them. Each lug. Each saw is 24 lug.
Okay.
So 40 times 24 is 960.
Okay.
Okay?
No, I'm still not.
It is. It works.
No. You start out with something. A pint. You start with ounces. From ounces you get pints, and pints you get gallons.
Right.
What's the first thing you start out with? The
saw.
Start with saw.
Yeah. The 40 saw in a mikvah.
Okay.
And a saw is divided into lugan. The 24 lugan in a saw.
How many lugan is divided into what?
Lugan is divided into revius. And lugan is divided into kabin. There are 9 kabin.
Yeah.
9 ganachna. There's 6 kabin. And each kav is divided into revius. So there are 24 revius in a log. Are you following so far?
Yes. So, what's the lowest common denominator? What's the lowest common measurement?
Revius.
Okay.
Except that there's a quart over in here too, which is even smaller. It's a little like a couple of ounces. But in any event, so a lug is 1/960th of a mikvah. And there are about 120 gallons in a mikvah, so you figure it's about 1/30th of a gallon. That makes sense. It's too small. Okay, certainly not here either. Make question. So again, try to learn elu postlin. If 3 lug of these substances fall into mikvah before the mikvah is full, possible mikvah, v'lomar, if the mikvah is missing anything, even a few ounces, and this falls in, it doesn't make the mikvah kosher. What are these? Well, what substances? Hamayim, water. Ben tor, ben tome. If it's drawn water, not rainwater, with tor tome. Who make vashim, and here we have pickle juice, meshlokos, and cooking juice. Vatemet, and also mead made from a wine made from pits and fermented grape pits. Actually, before it ferments. So kash is a contradiction. Hachat avi loy ochel. Here you're making it into food stuff. By us, you're saying that the shmei shlokes and make kavashim are like truma. That means they're like food. They answer. Over there, thereby mikveh, you consider them, however, to be a beverage, and a beverage which is not good for the mikveh. So there seems to be a contradiction in terms. Our mother said it's not difficult. It depends how strongly you cook the vegetables. Our mission is talking about where the vegetables or the fruit, whatever it is, got very soft in the water. So the water absorbed a lot of the taste. Now the water, therefore, is not of mashke anymore, but of ochel, and therefore it answers. Caution over there, it's talking about by mikvah, it's talking about where the fruit or vegetables cooked for a relatively short time, and therefore it retains its character as the waters retain their character as waters because they didn't absorb that much. And that is the same dichotomy as if we're saying kam ba'ochel, kam b'mashke. Over by us, it's considered to be ochel because it was cooked until soft, and therefore a lot of taste got out. Over there, it was not cooked very long, and therefore it retains its character as a liquid. Omra Yisr Rabban said, "Afilu Tamer Kan V'Kam Kosher." You can say that both subject matters are talking about tough fruit, where it wasn't cooked that long. Kan V'Kam Rachim, both subject matters talking about soft fruit, where it was cooked a long time. The difference is very basic. Noisim Tam B'Truma. By Truma we go by taste. That's halach of Truma. You got a taste of Truma, it's Truma. By noisim Tam b'mikvah. By mikvah it's not a question of noisim Tam. There's no taste to go by. Why? All mikvahs taste lousy. What are we going by? We're going by whether it's defined as water or defined or not defined as water. So it's defined as water for sure. The question is, if it, additionally, besides it being defined as water, there's a taste of Truma which you can sense or not, and that's a separate question. Okay? New parak. Ain't no steam tvela. Now this is the last parak.
I got a hadron over here.
He took his.
Yeah, you got a hadron on a parak. Yeah. Okay. Ain't no steam tvela v'grogros. So talk more. This is a warning to a Kohen. A Kohen is not allowed to put figs and dates into fish fat. Murias sear is brine, Murias is fish fat. But it's also like, some, goo, which comes from the fish. Let's put it scientifically. So, why not? Because what people do is they put, by the way, they didn't care about cholesterol in the old days, as we already know from the liver, right? So they were eating the fish fat too, okay? So the saturated fats, anything, didn't matter. So why not put the Dvelan Grogros of Truma? Because tradition is that after you put it in to the fat, you remove it and throw it out because the taste is already absorbed. So of course, what are you doing? You're being mafsid Truma. If you're not going to eat the Dveil of a Grogros, you're being mafsid Truma. That's no good, right? But you can't put wine into your fish fat because the wine you don't throw out, it remains there, and you drink it, and it's not considered to be losing the Truma. And similarly, you can't put spices of oil into a. You can't put spices of truma. Into oil because then they take out the spices and they don't. They get the. No, it's the opposite.
They're separate fields, so why should anybody go land?
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, because you're going to throw out the spices and not eat them properly. But you can put spices in wine, make a sangria type thing, because in that case you leave it in the wine and you drink the wine as is. You're not allowed to cook wine of truma because some of it will boil away, and that's a loss of truma. Matir says it's okay nation mashbichel because it makes it better. They hold mevushal is better than raw. The more it's going to discuss that. Tani, we learned. Nicer on the veil of a grogos a person can put his figs and dates of truma into a tafshil, into a cooked dish which he's making, like he normally puts spices. As long as he doesn't squeeze them to get out their juices and then remove the substance. That's awesome. So that's obvious, right? Because then you're being mafsid the truma. Again, you're just squeezing out the juice and throwing out the fruit. That's also by truma. You're being mafsid truma. It's not allowed. Okay? Mutter. But if you do the same thing with spice, then that's okay. That's how they're used. I guess the spice would even include like a lemon, although I don't know, I might be completely wrong about this. But people don't eat lemon, right? They squeeze out lemon, and then they throw away the rest of the lemon. So if it's a lemon of truma, you'd be allowed to do that. To an orange of truma, you wouldn't be allowed to do it because the derech is to eat the orange, you have to eat it. But if it's a lemon, and that's the whole derech of eating, just squeezing it out and then tossing the rest of it, then that would be permitted. Okay, I think that's a good analogy, even though I'm not 100% sure. What? It's called lemon, right? Sror Tavlin. If you have a bundle of spice, which you put it into one pot, because they put it into another pot, in bato tamo, and this is to truma, if all of the taste is canceled because all of the taste seeped out into the first pot. So then, mutter, the second pot is mutter for non-kohanim. Again, use spice of truma, but by the time it got to the second pot, it already lost all of its flavor. So the second pot is mutter for zorin. If not, if it hasn't lost all its flavor, then it remains also. Ma bein non lebein sheves. What's interesting in this? And a spice called sheves. I don't know exactly what spice this is, but what's interesting in this? The spice of sheves. Locate someone that we learn over there. Ha-sheves shenosnon. Ha-sheves shenosnon tam b'ktera. If sheves gave a taste to a pot, ein bo mishum truma, then even if the sheves is still in the pot, well, even the taste of the sheves in the pot, there's no problem with truma. And it's also not metame. The sheves itself is not metame tumasochlin, because tumasochlin has to be something which is suitable to eat, and sheves is only a spice; it can't be eaten. Now, what's the kasha from here? Our kasha is that it says here, once sheves gave taste into a first pot, the second pot is not called truma anymore. Why is it not called truma? L'choira, maybe it still has enough potency to give time to the second pot. It says, I'm going to tell you why. They gave it to you from yours. Meaning, literally, they let this go. Why is that? Because the whole truma of sheves is not only just the rabbanon. Truma of spice is the rabbanon, but this is a very, very remote rabbanon. Why is that? Because sheves is not really edible. So the required truma on it is bichlal chumrah. People sometimes, very rarely eat it, whatever it is, I don't know exactly. But people generally don't eat it, they generally use it as a spice. So it's not really edible, so truma is mamish a chumrah. So therefore, it's such a truma, which is such an obscure chumrah, they were not machmir, that if it fell into another pot, that it's also, even if it's still imparting taste. Bidinu shelo tami tu masochin. That's why really it should not even be matami tu masochin. Ve'imam should tatami tu masochin. They gave it a chumrah that should be matami tu masochin. Ve'imru, they said, however, became it nas tam b'ktera, but once it was put into one pot and was murmachmer that one pot to consider a truma which gets mixed up, and it's aser if it subsequently falls in another pot, even though it's still giving off taste, it doesn't aser the second pot. We'll stop here for tonight.